All right, what we're going to do today is we're going to carve us this little project, a nice little project, but simple little project. It's a bird, and it's like a little wing, is what it is. And I got this pattern and this idea from a man by the name of Richard Spinney, who is in our carving club in Southeast Texas Wood Carvers. And this is about 6.5 inches long and about 1.5 inches wide basswood. So we're gonna start carving this little bird. Of course, I'm gonna bring this forward. Just not a difficult project. Just sort of bring these areas together. I don't carve a lot of birds, but if I see one that I think is really nice or something like that, I like to present it to the class, where you just sort of shape this thing is what really it occurs to it. It's just sort of a shaping process that you have as you do this. You just shape the bird. And as you go along, it's just like I said, it's a shaping process with something like this. And I like these kind of projects because it is good for beginners, especially who are just starting out carving and just want something that they can as we begin to shape the portions. Now, what you can do many times is you can take and you can draw a center line like this, and that shows you how much you have carved on each side. You're able to see for instance, that you've carved some over here, or maybe you've carved more than what you should over here. So you go to the next area over here and you begin to take off that. In other words, it's just a dividing line that many carvers use as a focus of getting the bird or whatever you're carving correct, in other words, and doing what you're doing. Okay, and that's just one of the ways that a lot of carvers start out, especially when it comes to the head here. You're able to see the center line. When you look at the center line now, you say, well, okay, I've carved more on this side than on this side and everything like that. So basically we're going to bring this to a point so you can kind of look at both sides and say, oh, okay, I need to take more off here, or I need to take more off here. And you can also do the same thing at the bottom. You can draw a center line across here, and do the same thing here. See how much you cut off on each side. It's just a process of elimination, basically. This does not require a tremendous amount of detail. This is not a lot of detail in this bird. This is just sort of a shaping out of the figure as we shape it out and come to a point up in here. And especially underneath here too, it's good to have that center line kind of, see as we say. Now, as we can see now, the bird is already starting to take shape. And see, as we look at this center line, we see that we have more carved over here than over here. So we begin to take some off over here. It's just sort of a dividing line that we have to help us see and to understand that that we have a certain amount to go to, or a certain amount to carve in such a way. So as we can see now, the bird itself is come to its point right in here. See that? It's come to its point in such a way. So we're going to continue to shape it. Just because it's come to its point does not mean that that it's ready. Okay. Now the tail in this is going to be flat. Okay. The tail will be flat. Will be very flat, in other words. So we have to get these saw marks off in here, so we want to be sure and this is the only way that don't go this way with it, go this way with it to get these saw marks off. Because down here we're going to definitely make the tail much thinner. Sort of comes to a point, but we want to get our saw marks off up in here. We want to do that for sure. And your grain, now, I'm sorry, I forgot one of the things I want to tell you. When you cut this piece out, you want to make sure that the grain is running this way, okay? You want to make sure that the grain is running away. Don't have the grain running this way because it's because basically most of your carving is going to be this crossways in such a way. Okay. And we want to come back here. We can use this motion. We want to thin this up a lot. This tail is going to be very thin. To a point. We want to thin that up. Like that. The words. I want to thin this up. So we want that tail definitely to be, this is not just even here either. And as we look at that, it's just sort of now this in here, you're going to have to okay. Now let's continue to get these saw marks off. The grain changes about halfway down this back is what it does. Actually, the grain changes here. So whoop, got too thin. We'll knock that off there. Get this down here. Even myself, it can get too thin, and I can break it. Have to really, when you get to the end like that, you really have to be careful, because you are dealing with thin wood. We want to be careful like that. Okay. I'm going to make that a little bit deeper there. When you get into this area, you want to be real careful. Like I said, you want to be real careful not to go too thin or too okay. Tell you what, I'm gonna let you go now. We're gonna stop for a minute, and we're gonna pick this back up as we go. So I'm just gonna add a little bit. So we'll come back and we'll try to finish this little bird up. In other words, and how we get it.